Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new year of Comic Book Cove. I'm Tom Morris.
And I'm Josh Holderbaum.
And this is Lady Margot Elise for everyone that's keeping track. Anyway, a new year, new batch of comic books, but we're going to do something a little bit different this year. We're actually going to take, I want to call this Volume 2 of Comic Book Cove, because this, we're going to do a flash forward. And meaning by that is, we're going to keep up with the current comic books. On every Friday will be a new episode of Comic Book Cove, and Josh and I are going to discuss what we think is the pick of the week for DC Comics, and eventually we will get to other companies' comic books. But right now, to be honest with you, we read so much DC, there's so much good there, that we will get to other titles. But what we want to do is we want to highlight the issues that we feel are very good reads. So 1 week we're going to do about 6 issues from the batch, and also we'll go on our Facebook, and we'll also have like little quick, what I like to call quick flips, where we kind of say this is a good issue, this is a good issue. I want to have a lot of variety within the month, so you won't see us always going for reviewing a Superman Action Comics, the ones that come out bi-weekly. We might wait until a couple issues come out there and then discuss about them, because there's so many great titles out that we should kind of really talk about as much as we can. Mm-hmm. What do you feel about that?
Yeah, well, it helps us when we're doing this every week and reviewing, 14 to 20 comics,
yes,
which we usually split up into 2 shows. For us, yes, that's a lot of comics to read, and we love comics. We know a lot about comics. Reading all that on such a regular basis is a little maddening. Yes.
And we so the people out there, if you want to see us talk about a particular title, get a hold of us on Facebook and on YouTube and let us know what titles are going for you. So this episode, we're going to kind of hit something, I want to say the crossover event so far of the DC Universe Rebirth, which is Justice League, Suicide Squad. The Justice League versus Suicide Squad crossover. It's been kind of interesting. This, what are your thoughts, really, before we kind of talk about the issues we're going to review this week?
This has been a really cool crossover. I heard the title Justice League versus Suicide Squad. I thought, that can't be that cool. I mean, it's 2 teams that have been around for a long time. I mean, just kind of meeting for the first time. I mean, they've had run-ins before. This is sort of the first real mashup of them, and it's actually really enjoyable.
It is.
So far.
It is. This episode of Comic Book Cove, we're going to discuss the following titles. Justice League America, the Atom Rebirth #1. Justice League versus Suicide Squad #1. Justice League versus Suicide Squad #2. Justice League versus Suicide Squad #3. Justice League #12. And Superman #14. And as always, spoilers ahead. JLA, the Atom Rebirth #1. JLA Rebirth, the Atom. Josh, Ryan Choi in the DC Universe as the new Atom. Kind of I don't want to say mismatch, but he was the Atom in the New 52. And before that...
Pre-New 52.
Pre-New 52, yes.
Yeah, he took over... It was when Ray Palmer took off after Identity Crisis. He kind of micronized himself, and then ended up being Ryan Choi. Came in sometime after that.
Yeah, so for a while he's been around. Then he's been out for a little bit. DC Universe Rebirth reintroduced the storyline of Ryan Choi, and in JLA Rebirth, the Atom #1, we get a little bit more background on the dynamic with Ryan and Ray Palmer. I thought it was pretty good. It was a very good read, getting an understanding of the teamwork between the two.
Yeah, it's nice to see, because I think it was when Ryan Choi was first introduced pre-Flashpoint, after Ray Palmer had taken off. That was kind of when he was first debuted. It was after Ray Palmer was gone. We didn't get that much interplay between them. It wasn't. I never really had that logical connection of, okay, this is why he's the new Atom, and not somebody else.
Yep.
So to have this where, he's a student of Ray Palmer's, and he's sort of a scientific partner, and then eventually Ray Palmer brings him into the fold as, hey, I'm actually the Atom.
Yes.
Which I absolutely love Ryan Choi's reaction to that. That you say you're not a superhero, but you really look like a superhero.
Yes.
And
then Ray goes, yeah, I am a superhero, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really nice interplay, and it makes a lot more sense as to why he would end up taking on the mantle of the Atom eventually.
One of the things that I liked was the backstory of Ryan when he comes to Ivytown University, and the mother and father was saying that they wanted a career in music, but their parents forced them into science, and they wanted to make sure that their son wasn't forced into science. And he said, no, this is what I want to do. They didn't want to let him go, and he wanted to go. And you see him just kind of, like you said, opening up, discovering that whole new world. And the reason he wanted to go into science was to show that small things matter, that it's the little things in life, because he had little things here and there that bothered him, but he overcame them, and that's why I think him and Ryan Palmer worked great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes him sort of, it makes a lot of good sense that he views himself as kind of defending the small things.
Yes.
Because he views himself as being small, having what kind of looked like sort of overbearing parents, and sort of, he's sort of just another face in the crowd in class.
Yep.
Where he's sitting there quietly and everyone else shouts out answers, and he sort of whispers them to Ray Palmer, and Ray Palmer somehow even hears those, which is funny. But it again, it makes good sense as to why he would be the Atom, too, if he's defending the small things.
How does this fit overall into the overall story arc of DC Universe Rebirth?
I don't know. It'll be interesting, because the message Ray Palmer leaves for Ryan Choi is that he's discovered a disturbance in time, that time has been manipulated with, and now he's trapped in the microverse. And it makes you think, gee, we know time has been manipulated throughout all these DC Rebirth comics, so it makes me wonder, if he's just stuck somewhere after discovering that, or was he possibly taken captive? Just like Tim Drake was, and Doomsday, if he was taken off the board like they were. So
kind of like the ending of this book fit into the story that we saw in DC Universe Rebirth about 6 months ago.
Yep.
And that's where we're going to start seeing, they're going to introduce, the game plan is they have a JLA Rebirth for different characters, and they'll conclude it with JLA Rebirth #1, and then we'll have a new ongoing JLA title. And in the meantime, something that you brought up was, okay, we have Ray Palmer and Ryan Choi. We have Blue Beetle, and we have the Flash. So we have the like the first the generation, current generation, new generation. You think this is a trend with some of the classic JLA characters that we're getting?
I think it is. I think DC's taking a lot of opportunities to bring in new characters. DC's also been trying to diversify their character base too for many years. I mean, avoiding the mostly all white, mostly all male characters. I think having Ryan Choi certainly fits into that game plan. It does make me wonder, where will Ray Palmer fit?
Right.
Is he going to come back? I mean, is he going to make it back? B, if he comes back, is he going to be just Ray Palmer? Will he maybe be the voice in the ear of Ryan Choi? Or will he be the Atom as well? I mean, because we have two Flashes running around. We have both Barry Allen and pre-Flashpoint Wally West running around as the Flash. Or they might end up like a Blue Beetle thing with Jamie Reyes and Ted Kord.
Yes.
So it'll be interesting to see how that fits. They spend a lot of time introducing Ryan Choi, which makes me think he's not just going to go back to being the voice in the ear of Ray Palmer.
Agreed.
So we'll see.
Yep. Very good issue. I would recommend taking a read because it does tie into DC Universe Rebirth, and on its own, it's a very good story of a student mentor, and eventually they start seeing each other as equals. That's what I would recommend taking a read at JLA Rebirth, The Atom #1. Justice League versus Suicide Squad #1. Justice League versus Suicide Squad. Wow. I didn't think this team up, to be honest with you, when I read that they were going to do this crossover, I didn't think it was going to be much of anything, because up to that point, the Justice League storylines were okay, and the Suicide Squad storylines were decent, but there wasn't anything to say we need a crossover right now,
Yeah.
right so quickly into the Rebirth era. And reading that first issue, wow,
Yeah.
there's a lot going on in it.
Yeah, and it's cool too because these two teams are sort of like a tinderbox. I mean, the Suicide Squad is like at least half Batman villains.
Yes.
Anyway, so Batman's not going to be super keen on that. We also know he, kind of had his first real run-in with the Suicide Squad when they helped him when he had Santa Prisca. in
Yeah, a
Detective
version of the
Comics.
Suicide Squad.
Yeah. So
A
he's
version.
aware of it, and he's certainly met Amanda Waller, and he's not
Yes.
not a fan of her.
Yeah, some backstory onto this series. We did see that during Batman 9 through 13, and we'll discuss Batman later on in a future episodes as we get caught up. Batman 9 through 13, Batman had went to Amanda Waller during the whole I Am Gotham storyline in Lady Gotham Claire, and she had been manipulated by the Psycho Pirate, and she's still emotionally scarred. So he went to Santa Prisca to get Psycho Pirate, who was being held by Bane. Well, in the meantime, while he was gone, Amanda Waller just comes strolling in the Batcave and takes back the file that Batman was making on Task Force X from Amanda Waller. And the Suicide Squad had just gotten done, as you remember, Captain Boomerang looked like he was gone and out for good. They just wrapped up this kind of going sane storyline where the Phantom Zone was manipulating everyone in it, and it was going insane except for Harley Quinn, who went insane. Well, when that story arc was over, Captain Boomerang was back. His digital image was reconstructed. He's back.
Yay.
Without getting too crazy. And in the meantime, in Justice League, they had went through a few episodes and a few adventures, and Batman said, well, we need to be prepared for what's coming next. And it was an obvious overview of the Suicide Squad, that they are going to need to take him down. And that's where we see one part of Batman is in the Watchtower talking with the rest of the leakers, saying, all right, this is the Suicide Squad, Task Force X, where prisoners, if they do the bidding of Amanda Waller, they get reduced sentences. But when you got multiple life sentences, I guess, how many life sentences does it really matter?
Yeah.
That is the point of where Batman's saying, hey, we need to take this group down, because why do criminals get a pass? And that's discussed among the Justice League. But in the beginning, and I'll let you pick up, what happens in the beginning without we see a shadowy figure.
Yeah, in the very beginning, we see a shadowy figure is getting into this really high security prison in Death Valley somewhere. He gets in, he manipulates some of the guards into killing themselves. He gets in, he gets these prisoners released. Everybody gets slaughtered, except for them. I mean, except for the one guy who gets in, and all the prisoners, they slaughter everybody else. By the end of this, we find out that that's a kind of strange assortment of villains,
Yes.
which we see at the very end of this issue. We have Lobo, we have the
original Lobo.
Yeah, the original Lobo. Yeah, who had his own comic in the '90s, sort of anti-hero-ish,
Yes.
sort of very. We have the Emerald Empress, who's classically a Legion of Superheroes villain. We have Dr. Polaris, who fought the Flash a whole bunch of times. He manipulates magnetism. We have Johnny Sorrow, which makes me really happy, who's sort of a modern JSA villain. He was a radio star who ended up losing his job when TV hit, and then he made a deal with a devil or something, and now he's invisible, but he has a mask, and when he takes off the mask, people die.
Okay.
It made me happy. He's a cool character. And we have Rastan, I think it is.
Yeah.
Who's a vaguely Middle Eastern dude with a flaming sword who, honestly, I'm not familiar with. I mean, that's an obscure group of villains, but it's an interesting group, and leading that group is Maxwell Lord.
There's where we got the power suggestion from.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Maxwell Lord, we're going to talk about him in a couple of issues later, because he has his own little Maxwell Lord rebirth in Justice League number 12.
Mm-hmm.
But there's got to be a reason why Maxwell Lord broke out these villains that we haven't seen in quite a while. He's up to something. in the meantime, the Suicide Squad is out on an island trying to stop this villain named Apex.
Apex. And the Brimstone Brotherhood?
Yep, the
Was that it?
Brimstone
Okay,
Brotherhood,
yeah.
which is pretty much a plot filler.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And the reason the Suicide Squad is out is because I guess the United States had a secret government installation there, and if something does happen to the island, then it's going to draw attention to the United States, so they need to do this quietly.
Yep.
Well,
And Apex had also stolen a Star Labs device, which created earthquakes, and sort of plot device number 2 to get back.
Yes. And we also see a little tension between Rick Flag and Amanda Waller because they send out Killer Frost, which Killer Frost was introduced in the previous Suicide Squad mission. And Rick Flag was saying she doesn't have any experience and you sent the squad out without me. Well, you know what? Deadshot, I think, is just as capable as we talked about earlier. Deadshot is just as capable of leading the squaddies.
Yeah, he does a really surprisingly nice job. I mean, he's,
Yes.
along with Captain Boomerang, he's one of the two who's kind of been on the squad sort of since it first debuted, as Task Force X. I mean, he's certainly a lot more level-headed than Captain Boomerang.
Yes.
Or maybe not more level-headed, but a bit more respected among the team than Captain Boomerang is. And, Deadshot is sort of essentially a normal guy who, does have the job that he does assassinate people for a living. But it does make him a really good leader, and certainly, I mean, even as a second-in-command when Rick Flag's around. And I'm sure the rest of the team's probably going to listen to him a bit more than they would a non-criminal like Rick Flag.
Agreed. Here, there's a lot to talk about with these, so we're going to get to the main points was, all right, Suicide Squad and the Brimstone Brotherhood are fighting. While Batman is talking about them in the Watchtower, hey, guess what? That all of a sudden they ping on, I couldn't pronounce the island's name. Will you please?
Badnesia.
Badnesia.
I think.
All right, guess what, Justice League? Here's the villains that we're tracking in the Suicide Squad. Here's Badnesia. Oh, something's going on. Well, let's take the Justice League there. And when we do, let's try to take them in. And it's funny because the Green Lanterns are, who are these people? The guy has, I'll let you say it because that's your favorite line.
Well, it's funny too because, I mean, Killer Frost is there, sitting there kind of whispering to Harley, are we really going to do this?
Yeah.
And there's Simon Baz is floating over there and kind of whispers over to Flash, like, isn't this a little one-sided? That guy only has boomerangs.
Yep.
And, of course, that freaks out Captain Boomerang.
Yep.
Who, immediately threatens to kill him with his boomerangs. It's just a really funny altercation that is really, really heated between the two of them.
Because Batman was saying that and as the earthquake was bringing down a building, Deadshot was all ready to die. He had his picture of his daughter and was pretty much saying, I'll see you in hell, Amanda Waller, and the Superman swoops in, not today. And then the pleasantries are exchanged. They start to fight. All right.
Yeah.
I don't know I can't see how the Suicide Squad get out, but they've been in not much worse situations.
Yeah.
But they said one thing is, hey, you don't kill, but we kill. That's your weakness. We can take advantage of it. Then we see all the Maxwell Lord stuff. And it brings us to the end of Justice League versus Suicide Squad #1. Great issue, very long. It's worth a reread just so you can pick up the players in the game.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot going on, but it's all relevant.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is a lot of really good interactions, too.
It is.
I mean, this is the Suicide Squad comics we'd read. They were cool. I mean, we were much more... we enjoyed the backup features,
Yes.
those little solo stories, a lot better. This felt more like those to me in terms of how well it built the characters and the relationship between them and just the dynamics. I mean, just hearing Amanda Waller say, Deadshot, you know what I'm going to tell you to do.
Yep.
And Deadshot says back, yes, but I want to hear you say it.
Yep, exactly.
That's great.
It is.
That
great.
puts a smile on my face.
Well, get ready for more smiles because there's a lot more to go with this. We're going to take our first break. When we come back, it's more Justice League versus Suicide Squad Mayhem with Justice League versus Suicide Squad #2 and #3. We'll be back in just a moment.